so we don't have that delay. That's not a good picture of me. Get my good side. Michelle's online too, if you see her. Okay, we're good. All right,
Michelle looks like she's got the best spot in the house.
We are live now.
Perfect. Thank you, sir. All right. Let's all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
We stand for the pledge. You're up.
All right. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Not a lot of rhythm there.
Very good. Well, thank you all for joining. We really appreciate it. Let's see here. I'm pulling up Assembly. So Pat, Mr. Woods, I don't know if you guys have any kind of opening remarks or anything that you'd like to say, or if we should just jump into it.
We're good. Let's keep moving.
All good. All right. So we did have receive a red line version of the updated charter, and we'll just open it up for discussion. Was there any thoughts or concerns that anybody had?
Well, actually, so Pat and I met last week. We went through the edited version and we talked about it. So I'm going to show it up on the screen.
Okay.
They should be able to see it. I'm not sure why it's not showing up there. What do you see? Hold on. Okay, why is it not showing? Okay, so hold on just a second. Share that screen. All right. So this is the original charter was back in, and Ms. Jenkins and Mr. Thane, you guys can probably talk about it, but the original charter was about 70 pages in length. And how many? 130. It included the bylaws. So we're back at the top. And so PERTA went back through, they reduced it, they presented it to us. We had legal counsel look at it. We had both our legal counsel and theirs, Chris Jorgensen, work together and walk through it. And then on Friday, so long story short, Friday, Pat and I walked back through it, talked about the areas of concern that our legal counsel had. We reached out to her. We walked through these, and what you see are the only changes that we've made as the Emmett School District to that. I'm going to walk down to them as we get to it. All this is our legal and their legal went through, had discussions about it. We walked into the administration piece right here. These are the changes up here in red. The addition of an educational program and financial audit will be conducted annually. Just wanted a clear definition. And then this piece was, and these are things that came directly out of the old charter. The Idaho Public Charter School Commission may choose to do an independent audit. We put those back in this section because as the Emmett School District, one of our one of the three priorities is the financial oversight of this. And so this kind of clearly defines it, or defines it in more detail than what they had was just an independent financial audit as required. So we put that back in this section. So that was the edit and the change that our first one. Any questions about that?
So even though it's stated within statute of every single school and charter school, we still have to have it in the charter.
That's Amy recommends it.
Okay.
And that's,
even though we still have to do with the Department of CT with all of our course audits, because we have one with CT and CTS every year, then we still have to have that in the charter, right? Because even though it's in statute, we just want to double dip.
all we're doing is an educational program and financial audit, which is what you already do. If we're not asking for any more, we just wanted to make sure it was defined here that what type of financial audit it was. And then the charter one was only if they chose to do the charter. Terry. Mr. Jones has a question.
As I read through it, there's a lot of notes.
Mm-hmm.
And I tried to read them in a pretty fine print, but my question is, are we gonna get answers to these notes and why they have done and recommended what they've recommended in each one of these notes on all these pages?
Those are the two legal counsels working together. That's not our notes. Those are legal counsel's notes. Okay.
Well, same question apply, I mean,
I'm assuming your legal counsel has
Board.
information on it.
The board gave the legal counsel the
Yeah.
opportunity to work.
okay,
And so when the board, and then their board gave their legal counsel, so both of those would look at it.
Can
And
kind
They come by, just, it was basically just some basic stuff with statutes, state law, and definitions.
So I have a question, Craig.
yes,
Can people on the Zoom meeting hear what we're saying here?
not very well, because unless you're logged in right there, your mic might be working as well. So
So we either need to speak up or,
you need to speak up. Yeah.
okay,
best
so we
you
need
can.
to talk to the,
Sorry, the way this is set up. So
where's the mic at?
right here, my computer.
Okay.
Talk to me. Okay.
Yeah,
So-
I can hear you now.
Do you see those edits that did any questions about those edits? On that first section, the financial piece. Any questions from the Emmett School Board?
None for me.
No.
This is the second, one of the biggest obligations we have is in special ed, of the needs. It's one of our oversights. And so all I did here was add all that charter language back in there. So it's really no difference than it's currently in the charter. But you see, it used to say PERTA will acknowledge special needs students, but before it had identify. So I put identify and acknowledge that you have special needs students. And then everything else that was listed here came directly out of the charter. So this is not a change from what we currently have. It's just adding it back in because this is one of our biggest, this is the one area of liability that the school district has dealing with special ed students and PERTA. Because if our oversight is over them, we wanted to have it clearly defined. And so we put that back in. That was a recommendation from Amy. Okay.
So Craig, just while we were there, I'm going to assume that we're going to approve this, but there's just some grammatical errors in this section and some spelling errors. And so
Oh.
I didn't know if we wanted,
That's
I don't
them.
need to
Yep.
point. Okay, so first bullet there, PERTA has a lowercase a, should be capitalized.
Well, I got to move that up. Okay.
See, it looks like maybe bullet 5, there's an underscore under LEP underscore end parens there. Right last line on space dash site, we should take out that space.
Oh, yep, I see that. Yep, you're right. Okay.
Those were just the things I saw just real quick there.
Okay.
So if I see something else, I may just email you, but they're not, they would just be simple grammatical changes if I find anything else or anyone else as well. Sorry.
What was that? Susan Jenkins has something to say?
Yeah, I just said that we do need to make sure that that's existing.
Yes, and well, but you can also, if it's just a basic error, you can actually change it.
Okay.
Yeah. So does that make sense, everybody? So is there anything in the special ed piece that we've added back in that you have a concern about? Next one down, we move through the performance indicators. There were some questions, but these are exactly what we would be doing, which fits into the, our oversight as well. Here's the one that I put two options in here because this is the concern we have. It says the board of directors of PERTA will consist of no less than 5 and no more than 9 members. Board membership is determined by PERTA bylaws. Well, PERTA bylaws are adopted by PERTA. Now there's some legal challenges out there that actually, because the original charter and bylaws were the only thing that were approved, that bylaws should actually be approved by the ESD board as well. So what we looked at and what Amy looked at is to add back in one of these two options.
You should probably ask, is Chris said that has changed a year and a half ago or 2 years ago, that the bylaws and articles of corporation are with the charter itself. They're not anything to do with the authorizer.
But the
then
only,
as far as the 2 voting members appointed, that's already happening right now.
correct, but it's not in there. So we either want to put it in there in one of 2 ways. You can either put it in as option 1, up to 2 voting members may be appointed from the, in the school district Board of Trustees by the ESD Board of Trustees. So that's basically what was in there prior that you removed. It's exactly word for word what Chris pulled out. Or if you would like to step away, then it would be the independent school district board approval must be obtained prior to PERTA changing their bylaws and articles of incorporation, one or the other, because there has to be oversight.
Is Chris on? Is our attorney on?
Oh, I have no idea. I didn't.
Is he? Is Chris on?
I don't see him. If he's not in the room with you guys, he's not on this call.
So
We
currently,
need to go through, evidently, Chris and Amy didn't talk.
oh yeah, they did. This was a piece that Amy was concerned about. Chris had deleted it. And Amy agrees that, because the bylaws can be changed at any time, it could, with oversight, if we want to continue with this path of being within that, then option 1, which was already in the charter, should just remain in the charter.
Okay, well, I think we need to, well, let's go ahead.
The
So,
reason why we took it out is because in a normal bylaws, articles of incorporation, and charter, that is in the bylaws. It is not ever in the charter.
correct, but your
So-
bylaws can be changed without any approval, and then all of a sudden, there's no oversight.
Because of
That's the reason.
Because of the separate, right, because of the separate entity
Mhm.
and the way charters run. Like the same thing as Meridian Medical Charter and Meridian Technical Charter, all theirs, it's the same thing. So that's where we probably need to step in and refer to Chris. I don't know if you have them,
Oh,
is he waiting to get in or anything, do you know?
because he was, yeah. Craig, so you're saying one or the other?
Yeah, not both. It just, that's the way that was a recommendation from Ms. White, is that we need to look at having one or the other within the charter. Because bylaws can be changed at any time, and then all of a sudden there is no oversight and there's a complete separation. And I don't want to be, we don't want to be at the monthly meeting. It's not like we have to be on top of everything.
Right.
But we want to make sure we have our oversight as an
Okay.
LEA.
Can I just take a moment and ask, was number 1 not in the charter?
I don't think on the
Or not in the
rewrite.
bylaw, I mean.
In the bylaws it was, but it was in the bylaws and
I got you, it is in the bylaws.
as part of the charter, because
That's
of
what
the
I
previous
thought.
one, the bylaws.
It's
were
in the
part of it.
bylaws, that's what I thought, that number 1 is in the bylaws.
But they wanted in the charter, which I understand. I
It
mean,
was originally in the charter, and Chris
Well,
deleted it.
yeah, because they made us pull.
Well,
Craig,
it
when
was-
we wrote that charter, we were designated exactly what had to be in there pretty much. And that was something that came from the commission originally, but,
It was in the charter because the bylaws were embedded in the charter.
right.
Mhm.
And we didn't.
But now
have-
that you do it as a normal corporation is, you take the bylaws out, the articles of corporate, that still remains in the bylaws.
The
Right?
bylaws
But
can be
you wanted to
changed, but
vote.
yeah,
Absolutely. they
that's
can.
the reason why.
Because that's why, we're an independent, separate 501c3,
Mhm.
working together within the school district, so, yeah.
So it's a recommendation
You
by
can
our
leave
board.
option 1 in there if you want to, because it's gonna be
It's
bylaws
already in
anyway.
our
Right.
bylaws. Number 1 is.
So then why do you have any problem with putting it in?
Because I assumed from seeing this, even though you said option 1 and option 2, I assumed you want both.
Oh, no, just one or the other,
Yeah,
whichever one you felt more comfortable with.
well, option 1 is already in the bylaws.
So you don't have a problem with it going into the charter.
Yeah, I think that's,
Whatever, yeah, that's,
Definitely.
That's all, and I assumed that's what you were gonna do. I just wanted to, we could do it one of either way. Does that make sense,
It's just.
Mr. White?
It does, and for what it's worth, I personally I would prefer option 1 because I don't think PERTA should be required to consult the school district before changing bylaws. Now, obviously, in a collaborative, type of relationship that we have, we would work together, but I don't think we need that kind of control. But if you're comfortable having it in the charter that 2 of the ESD board members would be on the PERTA board as well, I think that's the best way to go personally.
I didn't think it was a big deal either. Amy just said we could write it up either way, so I put them up there and say, pick one. one was, I thought was even, yeah, the number two, I
To me,
thought was
it's
like,
just, I understand because you wanna make sure that you guys have that, the two on there. I just think it's redundancy.
Yep.
And I can't really stand redundancy.
okay, no other changes throughout until here.
Good question.
Mr. Jones?
Because I read through it, the district required all personnel staff have background checks.
State requires that.
Right. What about board of directors?
I don't think there's,
No.
a yeah.
They're not with kids by themselves.
Yeah.
They're not a teacher. So that's what specializes everybody. We can even have somebody come in the classroom and help in that classroom as long as that teacher's there. If that teacher leaves that classroom with that person in there, that person has to be paid.
Can we voluntarily do that?
As long as you're in the same classroom with the teacher.
The question,
Oh, volunteer.
can we voluntarily say board directors need to have a background check? We could, yeah. We can add more than state law.
Now, are you talking your board or our board?
Yeah.
Well, it'd be our board.
We can't say.
I was gonna say, because I don't know if you could require that for an elected official, can you? I mean, other than
These aren't elected, these are. appointed.
ours are elected,
Right.
though. That's why I was wondering, so.
No,
Yep, you're right.
that comment would only apply to our board.
Yeah.
Okay. So the next change was just down under admission procedures. You'd removed it and I added it back in.
Oh, what page?
Oh, down on tab 7, page 21. PERTA has identified the following over enrollment procedures. It should be open enrollment procedures, isn't it? Not over?
Yes.
Okay.
No, it's over enrollment, not open.
It's over.
If we have too many students.
Right. Yeah, you're right.
So it's over enrollment, like
Okay.
a charter school, if they have too many students that want to
Have a
sign up,
lottery or something.
you have a lottery.
But you had reduced or taken out applicants residing in District 221 shall be given priority, followed by applicants residing outside said district.
Because they're not part of the over enrollment.
But
They'd be part of the normal enrollment, so we could put that in. What would that be?
but it's a normal enrollment. It's not in the normal enrollment.
Admission, right. I'm saying we can add, so underneath admission procedures, you can put a subset in there and say applicants residing in District 221 shall be given priority, followed by applicants residing outside of the district. Then start saying over enrollment, and that's where we go to.
Do you want to move it up here?
Right underneath admission procedures. I think we can do that right there, can't we? Just as its own separate.
It'd be clear,
Yeah.
it would be much clearer if it was.
And just say enrollment procedures, not over, just regular enrollment procedures. And then after that, then you're gonna put over enrollment.
Is everybody, can you guys hear everything that's going on here?
I can.
Yeah, well enough.
We're good. Yeah.
I can.
On that one, because that would be anything over and above. Does that make sense, Greg?
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that was one of the things where the priority was taken out. So,
Yeah, because we gotta have, District 221 students have to have priority for sure.
okay.
Shouldn't that'd be
Right.
over enrollment
Yeah.
procedures right here?
That needs to be over enrollment, not over procedures.
I know that. I'm trying to type and talk and you guys are all watching me.
If you could grab a couple of the little juggling things and do a couple tricks for us, that'd be good.
Oh, returning students, is that right? Or is that supposed to be, and all others, does that look right there? Format wise?
There's a primary attendance rate in the school district.
No, there's nothing in over enrollment.
For those, that was a,
Lottery pools and or waiting list will be established. Returning students, civic or public, pupils already attending.
that's how it was written.
Primary, yeah, that's.
But this would be all by itself though, wouldn't it?
What about exchange students?
Exchange students are down below.
Pardon?
Exchange students are down below, I believe, or how they're,
Hey Craig,
yeah.
does that statement under enrollment procedures, is there a conflict there with the target student population under tab 2? Where it says in order to meet the career technical school funding requirement to educate 15% of its students from outside the Emmett School District. PERTA will also educate rural high school students, I don't know, I just want to make sure there's not a conflict there.
No,
That's actually a good
it
point.
is. So our main enrollment procedure is gonna be given strictly to Emmett High School students. And then we basically have to do online for like Horseshoe Band Council, because we can't send teachers all over. So the priority would be, people in the seat would be from Emmett High School. And if kids wanted to take online classes, they could, but we're not held to a 24 because of the size of the room. 24 is what we'd have for kids in the room, but we could have more than that, still meet that 15%.
So Pat, what we might want to have in there is a different category for online students, possibly. I mean, it hasn't been a problem in the past, but I think what Ross is talking about is if we do have too many students, you know, an over enrollment situation, and we're giving Emmett School District students the first first seat, then it could crowd out that 15% issue. So I think it's a legitimate issue that we need to talk about. Is our online students in a different category?
Yes,
Then we probably need to say it.
but it is in tab 2 of CTS, that's where our 50%.
Yeah,
If we want to do enrollment, they're not enrolling in PERTA. They're taking our courses because we're the providing school, but they're still the home school, so they still get PTA. Because we don't have an enrollment for IDLA, and I don't think you guys have an enrollment for IDLA. No school does, but yet students are still taking IDLA courses. So I think we're okay with this.
Well, we probably are because we've never had the issue.
right. I don't think we will have the issue either.
No.
But if it
Well,
makes them comfortable, I think they're right, though. It needs to be stated that Emmett School District has priority,
Yes.
period. And then, as we continue with the CTS side, that's where our online.
Right, and if we have to come back and change this later on down the road, I don't see it happening. Just by any means. And if we do, Shelley's going to take a lot of the front of that.
So basically, right now, we're taking all Emmett School District students that want to come,
Absolutely.
and we could take more than we are. So this really is
I
the
wish
issue.
we would. Yes,
Yes.
exactly.
All right, so it doesn't really need to be
We talked
stated
about
then.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay,
Okay.
okay.
Thank you, Ross.
I don't think we have.
There wasn't a conflict there. I didn't know if there was or not, so.
This came right directly out of our additional charter. Facilities may be leased from the district 221, which is what we currently do. The facilities will be inspected to ensure compliance with applicable state and federal guidelines as provided in section 394130 Idaho Code and the Americans with Disabilities Act. So this is just,
Craig, could you add a D in federal? That way it's not feral.
oh, I like feral. Where's feral at? Oh, you're right.
Right there. Thank you.
That's what I read, isn't it? Didn't I?
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, well, if I could-
should be in
If I could type.
There we go.
There we go.
Okay, so that was just an additional piece. Now, this piece down below was added, or it's always been in there. The Independent School District agreed to assist as necessary for PERTA acquiring facilities for its operation. Amy's biggest concern is going to be if they're out looking for property, what is that assessment, making sure we define what does our assisting look like as an Emmett School District. At the time the charter was built, does that make sense?
Yeah, we could take that out.
If you want, we'll just take that out.
I'm not sure what assist means either.
Yeah, she'd have said we need to clearly
But
define it.
one thing you are holding us accountable, because there's three things. We're gonna do what we say we do within our charter. We're gonna make sure we meet the professional agreement and what we have with the standards, the TSA, the workplace, all that, and then make sure we're financially stable.
Operations, finance, and
Financially stable. The only thing that's liable at the district is
special.
with special ed. So everything else is pretty good.
No, but as far as, there wasn't, on this, what does it mean to assist?
I would just take that
I
out.
take it out.
I'll take it out.
That works for me too.
I just want facilities with a bathroom.
I brought a porta potty.
I just want bathrooms. Our poor kiddos don't have bathrooms.
What about this? Lease purchase of any building, or do you want the whole thing is to be determined per
I'd just get
negotiations?
it out of there. I think it's.
Well, I think, I think it, as far as what your lease and your purchase might be, it's up to, you know, you as an LEA, but that affects the Emmett School District of where it goes, and it needs to be collaborative. We're the LEA.
Local education.
We're the local education
Right.
association, and I think it needs to be collaborative. I think we need to be a part of it.
So I'm not sure what you're saying here.
Well, I just want to make sure that decisions that are made by either board that affect the other board, there's a collaboration, there's a discussion about what that actually does. Not just two board members, but before you purchase a building, or we build a, you know, we go out for a building bond, we want you involved in it. We want you to be involved in it.
And the same. And
Yeah,
that's-
vice
That's
versa.
what we've been doing, but it's, and then if we have to have something in there, but as far as the lease or purchase of it, it should just be a collaboration between Emmett School Board and PERT, and Pay River Technical Academy Board will be considered, or will be met, or,
I'm not sure what.
Well, frankly, I think the second line, the lease purchase of any building or item is to be determined by negotiation. I think that's kind of redundant. That, in my mind, it seems like that would go without saying. I don't know what the alternative to a negotiation would be in this kind of case. So I think if we just said the use of facilities is governed by the shared services agreement between Emmett Independent School District and PERTA, period. I don't know that we need any more than that.
that's good. Yep.
Okay. All right, that was our other concern, is making sure we knew what that was. So I don't think I have any other changes in here. The appendix were removed. So those were the changes that I made to it, and Amy has approved on the ESD side.
So process-wise, how would this work? Obviously, it's an action item for our board at our next board meeting. But does the PERTA board need to approve this as well?
Now that we've made changes, they
Yes.
would have to approve it.
Okay.
If they want to today, they can, or they can.
I want this.
I think we'd feel more comfortable just having a discussion.
Okay, so we're just discussing tonight, and then we can do the same thing, and, you know, based on that, you guys can discuss it, and we don't have to approve it tonight either. Yep.
On public access, it is what's going on today, does that paragraph meet the needs of what public access means under this virus issue? And this is, as we go down the road, is that public access? I wish I knew.
Oh,
What's the heading?
Public access.
Anybody know where
Oh.
public access is?
It's tab 10,
Well, who's got them all memorized?
Well, there it is.
and under miscellaneous.
It was page 24.
I'm just saying, under
There you
today's
go.
condition, are we gonna go back to normal after this is over with, or are we going to be
I plan
cognizant?
on going back to normal.
Well, but
My normal is-
that's scary.
Well, they haven't changed the laws, so we have to stay with what the public access code is.
But a lot of this is dealing with, another one of our oversights is making sure that you're following open meeting laws, and just like we are, because if, you know, so if you read that, PERT is subject to the provision of the Idaho open meeting laws. So any kind of discussions, and so that's part of our authority over the top of you as well, is to make sure you are performing just like we are.
That's just-
It is in, yes, it
that's
is.
a state board.
It's under operations. You look at it, and Michelle Clement Taylor even said that. It is under operations.
Huh. That's pretty amazing. I would think it'd be, the state does open meeting laws.
If they're the ones, but we have to sign off on it as your authorizer. So it's part of our operations. Michelle Clement Taylor said that was one of them.
Oh, yeah.
But that's exactly what that
We'll have
was.
that discussion.
Well, it's been part of what we agreed to previously.
Yeah, it's no different than what we've been doing.
What Mr. Jones talked about was, how does that apply in this pandemic situation? And basically, we're just following the emergency orders and the
Is
directions.
that what it says in there?
Yeah, you're basically complying with state law.
Yeah. All right.
Yep.
So we're complying with state law to the best of our ability. Of course, with the emergency order, the state board put out some different recommendations and how you can have an open meeting.
The executive order is not state law.
Well, it is because the governor's declaration, basically of emergency declaration. And so you could make a legal argument that we really haven't changed state law and that's possibly illegal. But as far as no one's bringing that lawsuit right now. We're covered because we think we're trying to obey state law the best we can.
Well, what my concern is I want to make sure that when we start getting back to normal, that there's not liability issues that will arise because they say, well, you didn't do X or you didn't do Y in pertaining to, social distancing and codes and so on. I mean,
it just refers to state law, and we're doing the best we can.
I don't even know we can put anything in there because things change so fast.
Yeah.
I mean, we have a meeting one week and the next week things have got to change.
Well, and the charter is a kind of a long-standing document, so I would say we need to approach it not in light of today's situation, but 6 years down the road, we need to think long-term about it.
I just want to know latitude, sure, that we're comfortable with what we're saying.
Absolutely.
Okay, actually, the only things that have been changed from what you submitted to us was what's in red. So I mean, Chris could be able to
Right.
review that, and
Yeah, we'll be able to review it, and I don't think there's going to be an issue at all,
so.
especially with the sped part of it, because we're outsourcing to you.
And I just took exactly what you had in there and put it back in there. So that's it. And that's what Amy said. She said you had it clearly defined. Leave it back. So, okay.
Well, and I would like to thank Chris and Amy for hammering through this together and then bringing the polished product to us, because that's a lot of legal verbiage. So I appreciate everyone's time and effort in working on this. I feel good about it.
Okay.
Yeah, this is Stephen saying, I think we just need to talk a little bit with our legal counsel, and we'll take it up at our next scheduled board meeting. And then I'm sure we'll accept it. Because if there's anything, we'll talk about it. So that's our plan. We're good.
Excellent.
All right. Okay, so
Very
I'm
good.
going to get off that screen. I'm going to save what we did. So I've got the saved version. And then next thing on the agenda, you guys have that in front of you?
I do. Performance standards is
Now.
up next, but there's no attachments for it in Assembly.
That's for Pat. Pat's on top of that one.
Gotcha.
Performance standards. Do I need to add this so they can see it?
No, I mean, that's already going to be in the charter, right? But I don't.
But you have it as a line item. You asked for it to be a line item. The agenda had it written down as a line item. Is there any discussion on it?
Well, as long as you guys are good with the performance standards you guys have, I mean,
Performance standards you have are in the charter. They're
correct.
the
And that's
TA,
one of the addendums.
yeah,
Right.
EOCs, the all that, right?
Right, and
Yeah.
the course, the TSAs, the WRAs.
They're actually within there, and I've reviewed them. I don't have any concerns with those at this point at all, really. That's normal. That's standard. So. Okay.
Move along.
Awesome. Next item is goals, partnership with the Emmett School District.
So I asked to have this put on there just because I've kind of became a, let me see if I can get it up so you can see it. I don't know where everything went, but we'll get there. Sorry.
For those that are attending by Zoom, how many of you can believe that you're actually looking forward to getting back in a boardroom?
Yeah. But I actually don't like being sequestered.
I brought my own snacks.
Ah, Ross has got snacks. Nice, good man.
All right, so these are just a few thoughts that I had. I've been spending some time trying to read back through the history, and I know we have Miss Jenkins and we have Mr. Thane that were on the original charter members when they wrote this. I think you guys were the original board members. I don't think anybody else is there. But Pat and I have had a discussion about this over the last couple of weeks about what is the direction that we think PERTA and Emmett's going, you know, and if you look at the history and some of the things that happened between 2013 and 2017, especially the 18, it looked like we were becoming completely two separate entities. And so I went back through and just did some research and was kind of pulling things, some of this stuff. And this is things that were put into service agreements, your charters, about PERTA is designed to work in collaboration with the Emmett School District and other districts, universities, and colleges. And then the second line, or the second paragraph, is the relationship between the ESD and PERTA is also influenced by the fact that the authorizing LEA for the PERTA charter school is the Emmett School District, and we have certain responsibilities. But what I was looking at is collaboration seems to have fallen off and this is me as a personal observation, that we had a drop off, and I'm hoping we're coming back, but we just need to, what is our vision? Where are you guys, where do you see where do both boards see these two entities going over the next 5 years? And so some of this stuff that's down here was just things I pulled out of different correspondences between each group. And I came up with 3 questions here at the bottom. So how do we define the partnership and enhance collaboration within these two entities? What is each board's vision of this partnership and collaboration? And what is our shared vision on this partnership and collaboration? And I'm not asking for us to come up with an answer, but I'm asking to have some dialogue. So Pat and I have direction of where we're going.
Mr. Woods and
Yes.
Chairman White, this is Mike Kimball speaking for those in the room. I would like to just kind of kick off, because I think this is a great idea, and hopefully the people in your office can hear me, Craig. But I would like to say that, you know, I know that we've had kind of a rough relationship in the last little bit, and hope that we can all kind of wipe that slate clean and collaborate, because what PERTA brings to the table is definitely the future, and great for our students and our community. So, you know, I think that's one thing that I would like to say from my board position, that I'd like to see that partnership more in line and uniform, and support whatever we can do to enhance that, and develop that for the future.
I'd like to jump in here, Stephen Bain. One thing we've been talking about at PERTA, I think it's important that we get on the same page where we can. And so I have a little perspective of what's going on at the state level too. One thing we'd like to work on is at the 8th grade level, helping those students that are taking an exploratory class work on their, 4-year plan, which is something that the state and the school district, we're all wanting to do that. And personally, I think it'd be really beneficial to the students to develop a 4-year plan for a career technical route and one for an academic route, so they know what resources are available, how you get that training or how you get that academic education. This last session, we passed a resolution asking the state board to look into re-evaluating high school graduation and what that might look like. Because right now we have a college prep system. That's what we've had for many, many years. And what that means, so what we're wanting to move to is to acknowledge, and this is at the state level, acknowledge that some students are not wanting to do the college prep route, and that they would rather take a CT route, vocational route, and try to keep them in those vocational paths. And so what that could look like in the future, and then the school district and the PERTA collaboration, is if a student is not going to go the college route, they don't need, you know, pre-calculus, they don't need, you know, English lit. So we provide classes that, like in English and math, that relate to their profession, their discipline. And, you know, a good example of that is Elevate Charter School in Caldwell. It just started this year, but they have 70% of their kids, these are high school kids, that basically can't read. And so rather than putting them back into a regular English class where they haven't been successful, put them in a class where it's relevant to them. And so that's what this, one of the things I think this 8th grade plan would help at is our counselor, Chris Robig, Savitz, I guess Camden and Chris get confused. You know, and Carrie Jukes and, you know, Becky Webb and different people in Gear Up. They can take that 4-year plan and say, are you still on track to do that? Have you changed your mind? What classes? You know, so we can track that and provide for them the opportunities and resources they need to be successful in their goal. So that's one thing I think we can do, and we need to collaborate on, is really individualize that helping that student reach the goals they want to reach.
You know, I have one thought that I'd like to see charter schools, particularly ours, go to is expanding their horizons. For example, the auto shop. They're learning mechanical skills to repair automobiles, but why can't those skills be worked to form the point that they could work in a food processing facility, manufacturing facility, taking care of equipment like air compressors and machinery and so forth. There's a huge opening out there for these kind of opportunities. I came out of milk plants, and one of our needs was who's going to take care of the milk plant equipment, who's going to run the boilers in the boiler room, who's going to take care of the packaging line equipment, and so forth. And I think we can marry these kinds of opportunities to where we can draw the interest of these kids into a direction where they haven't thought about food as part of their future. And everybody's got to have food. And I think giving what's happening today, I think the economic future of families is going to be challenging for education because the dollars aren't going to be in their pockets like they were a couple of months ago. So I think that we can open up these avenues for these kids instead of challenging to go to a 4-year college, get the technical skills they need, and move into good paying jobs that are necessary in our country.
Mr. Chairman?
Mr. Chairman?
Dave White here. I'd like to give you a little bit of history about technical education and why we do need to work together. And we as both boards have always tried to, I served on both boards. There were some administrative problems there. It wasn't a board problem, okay? I'd like to clear that up. We've always tried to work together. And if you look back historically, like the Carl Perkins Act and stuff, the finances of how technical programs blended together with high school programs. Let me tell you what happened is when the schools got funded, if they needed money, where did they get it from? Technical programs. And I will tell you that's true. Even at the college level, that happened. I was director for 23 years. The academic division would steal money out of our account every year because they needed more money to teach English class and they needed Spanish class or something. And we always came to the call and said, okay, we always tried to help. So when this program started, automotive didn't have computers, welding didn't have welders. We have 9 programs now because of PERTA. This community has no understanding of how much money and talent has come to this community because of PERTA. Our students now have 9 different choices of technical programs they can take at no cost to this community, no cost to this community or to the school. We've always been at the table. I sat in meetings where you couldn't have a Spanish class, and we said, we'll pay for it. And did we get a thank you? Only the board chairman sent the thank you. We did not know thank you from someone else. So this board has always been feeling that we wanted to work with the academic part of the school. They're the same students, and we know that. And PERTA is only here to provide more technical programs to our students. So I would hope that the rest of you new board members know and understand there was never heads against the boards. Right, Susan?
Right, never.
Right, Senator Thane? We
Mr.
all
Chair?
do our best to work together, always.
Since somebody asked me a question, I'll respond, and I think then Michelle wants on. But,
Yeah,
yeah, I always had a good relationship with everybody. So, to me, yeah, water under the bridge.
Michelle, before you say something, can I say something real quick? Mr. Chair, is it
Yes.
okay?
Sure.
I just want to make sure you understand. I'm not saying it was board against board. I'm just saying it seemed like the two entities were separating. So it's just, can we bring it back? Or do we want to bring it back? And what does that look like as we bring it back? I wasn't against the boards. I just going, because I was really impressed with what was written in the beginning of what this thing was, what the vision was in 2010. I was saddened by what it looked like in 2009, but 2015 and 17, where it was going. And that's all I wanted to do is bring us back to what was our original vision, and is it still our original vision? And how can we do that as a group? So don't think that I was a board against board. I just didn't want to see the separation continue.
Yeah. Thank you for clarifying, Mr. Woods. And I think that's a good clarification. I appreciate that. Thank you. Michelle, you had something?
So my kiddos went through the PERTA programs at the very beginning, and it was an amazing experience for them. And I hope every student at Emmett has that same opportunity. The one collaboration that I would love for us to see is technical writing and maybe some technical math. That were areas that they did not have. And once they did get to college, that was an area that they both have indicated would have been really helpful to them. And I know that has been a discussion in the past that it just hasn't come to fruition for whatever reason. But to me, that would be something that I just think every student really should learn how to know how to technically write. Precision in our language is becoming more and more important, and it's complex, and so that would be one area that I would hope that we could collaborate on. And I know that we currently have several of our teachers, both on the Emmett School District and at PERTA, that are already collaborating. And so maybe what we need to do is acknowledge and recognize those programs to get us started and really focus on how we can move forward as well, because I think that it's already happening in some respects. Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle.
Mr. White,
Yes, sir.
it's surpassed my kid, but I would really like to see the push. We've talked about starting the wheel in the 8th grade. I would really like to see that so that our students aren't sophomores in high school taking entry-level classes and missing a complete year, that they could be doing something towards their future. And like my youngest son, Brandon's really interested in the CT side of things, and you know, he's going to be basically out a whole year and missing stuff. And so you guys that are sitting on the board that have kids coming up through the program, I would seriously think about that. That's just my 2 thoughts.
Mr. Chair,
Sorry, who said that?
Mike Kimball.
Oh, there you go. Yes, Mr. Kimball.
I am also in support of the 8th grade that Trustee Weeks just brought up. I think that's important. One other thing that I would love to see PERTA kind of start to focus towards, along with what Michelle mentioned, technical writing and stuff, is intro to construction or something like that. I've visited with Mrs. Jenkins about it, but I sit on a national committee that we give away scholarships that we can't fill because there's kids just not interested in going on to be an engineer, or we have current programs, we call it 6 figures without the suit, because there's people out in our industry that don't have college degrees that are making 6 figures. So I'd love to see PR2TA work towards that, like an intro to construction or something on that side of things.
Mr. Chairman, this is Stephen Thane.
Yes, sir.
Along those lines, Mr. Kimball was talking about, I was visiting with a plumbing contractor. I forget his name now, but he has
HVAC, it's your HVAC, the plumbing, yeah.
HVAC one, because about this particular issue, and he has ads on the radio all the time. I just forget which one. But high school kids now can, at age 16, can enter apprenticeship programs. But he pointed out that not very many kids at 16 can make that commitment. And what they really need is introduction to plumbing, introduction to construction, introduction to HVAC, introduction to electrical, because not many kids at 16 are ready to make a commitment to be an apprentice electrician. They could. And I thought that was a very good suggestion. And so that's something I think the PR2TA board could discuss, is having almost an introduction to the trades class.
I think internships, getting into these facilities, shadowing a veterinarian, shadowing a nutritionist, shadowing
Chairman White, this is Pat Goff. I was gonna talk about the middle school position first. That's why we have worked in collaboration with I worked with Mr. Woods about this and talking about getting the middle school teacher in there last year, so that we could move the freshman wheel down to the 8th grade and they wouldn't skip a beat. So these 8th graders are going to move to the 9th grade. We will not have the freshman wheel. And that way nobody's missed anything. We did the freshman wheel and the 8th grade discovery. So from now on, basically the freshman wheel is going to be down at the 8th grade. And then we just got to work out the logistics of whose payroll does he or she reside upon, and how does that go? And then to talk to Mr. Jones about the apprenticeship, we're already doing an apprenticeship and internship. Patty O'Malley does one every period, and we have probably around 20 kids that are going out to veterinarian's place, going out to restaurants, going out to these areas that we've already started doing that, and then work-based learning. And so we're also going to work together. Mr. Woods and I have talked about collaborating with some of the kids that are in business, maybe working as office internships at the district office, the high school office, some of the elementary offices, and working within the school, as well as the networking side of it, the engineering side of it, whatever it might be. And so the collaboration and everything that's coming to pass, I see a lot more happening now. And yes, I agree with what Mr. Woods has said before. What I think, just a little history behind it, is the first advanced ed that we had stated that they wanted to see where Emmett School District ended and PR2TA began, and where PR2TA ended and Emmett School District began. And that's the only reason why they wanted to see, just show the line of or degrees of separation. Not that there was a separate, we're not separate by any means, but that we are a separate entity working together for the common good. Once that came out, then of course you got to pull everything, rein everything back, because then it was like, well, you want to separate, you know, and that was never that was never the intention. It was to satisfy the accreditation that we had to maintain. And now this last accreditation that we had, where we got glowing remarks, they did see that, as well as the collaboration with the district. So there was both. So I think we're moving ahead. I think we're moving forward. Do we have areas where we can benefit and where we need to improve on? Absolutely. This was the perfect scenario. We all be making more money. Because it's education. So we sit there and continue to learn and continue to grow and be better. And in these times, the teachers, get a hold of your kids. Get on Zoom, get on Google Meets, and have the biggest smile that you can to brighten their day. Because these kids are living in a time right now where it might not be so bright.
Yeah.
So we're here to try to help out as much as we can. And like I said, it's been a breath of fresh air working with Craig. He's all right. He's all right. He's all right.
I would agree. He's okay.
Well, I too, I've enjoyed listening to the different comments and things. I feel like there's been a marked change in the direction that the two entities have been going. I feel like as Michelle said, I feel like the collaboration is already happening. Teachers are working together. I think there's obviously areas that we're able to improve on both sides, but I think that we're heading that direction. And I think a fresh leadership all the way around has helped with that. You know, I know Pat, you and I have discussed that in the past. I feel like there's been it's been really good to have fresh ideas, fresh faces. I think change is inevitable, and it's good for organizations. So I'm excited about the direction that things are going. I don't know that we necessarily answered any of your questions, Craig. How do we define the partnership and enhance collaboration? The board's vision of partnership and collaboration. We talk a lot about collaboration, but if I could ask a question, specifically, what does that mean? What does that look like? A student walks into the high school. What does that collaboration between PRTA and Emmett School District look like through the eyes of that student? Because I think that's needs to be our chief focus. It's all about the kids. What does it look like for the kids? So define collaboration for me through that lens. What does a kid see that we're calling collaboration?
Mr. Chairman, I'd love to take another stab at that. This is Stephen Thane again. And it comes back to my 8th grade real comment and creating that plan.
Mm-hmm.
Collaboration to me is, let's find out what that student wants to do, and then the Emmett School District and the Emmett School and the PRTA bring the resources that they can to bear on helping that student reach his goals. That's what it looks like to me. Counseling tied into that. Counselors have to be aware of that. Counseling, you set up the courses or whatever resources. Scheduling, counseling. Crucial. Exposure. Giving these kids the opportunity to see what they think they want in their future. So it's based around helping the students get a vision of what their goals are, and then helping them. So if we work together to help the students, that's what collaboration looks like. Or that's what I think of when.
Mr. White?
Yes, ma'am.
Jenkins here. I just want to, I love those 3.
Ms. Jenkins, I'm having a hard time hearing you.
You talk a little bit louder, I think, if you can.
Okay. Okay, maybe. Okay, thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, thank you. Sorry to make you shout.
When Dr. Nickram and I wrote the charter, and at the time, Sue Beitia was the superintendent, and she had come from Valley View, where she had been the assistant superintendent over there, and we had worked together, even in that scenario, because they were working on something very similar to what we did with the PRTA charter. Now, what that charter, and now that we've gone through it and rewritten it, the original charter, that whole idea of collaboration was paramount, because Emmett School District, and you people that grew up in Emmett and went through the district should know what we were facing in terms of professional technical education. It was limited and did not include pathways. Well, things over the years have changed with the State Department, as well as the Emmett School District, that have dictated some of the changes. I think today, not just this very moment, but today, the changes that we have made, the collaboration, and the whole original push for the Professional Technical Academy I think we've answered with our charter these 3 questions. We can talk about them and continue to talk about them because that's what we should do.
But I think the main point is the third one. What is our shared vision? That's what I addressed.
Mr. Chairman, that's exactly the direction in which I didn't expect an answer. I expected a thought process of going, where are we going?
Right.
As you know, and again, a shared vision is exactly the piece that I want. And Pat and Mr. Carter and I had this conversation yesterday about the collaboration and what the things that we want to move towards. And so, but that's exactly it, is having that vision. For me, in my opinion, it's this: when they choose to add or we choose to add a new program into our facilities, how does it affect PRTA, or vice versa?
Absolutely.
And that is where that shared vision, it's not real, and it's collaboration. It's more communication. You know, we talked about it's how we communicate and where it's coming from. It's a decision that's made by our board that I go to Pat and say, Pat, we made this decision. Let's make it work now. That's not collaboration. It's the idea that, hey, we want to offer this program. Craig, let's collaborate boards wise before PRTA even makes a decision on whether they're going to have it. And that was the thing that I want. That's where I see where both boards could work better together. Me personally. Okay.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, ma'am.
Susan Jenkins again. And Michelle too. That is what what Mr. Woods has just explained is absolutely the key point, because what happened, which some of you would not be aware of, but Craig would, because he was the superintendent at the time. Technical made some huge changes on us that affected you. And hopefully now we'll make sure that we're always on the same page as to what the state is requiring from us too, and the Fed.
Mm-hmm.
And to answer Mr. Kimball on the construction, that was one of the reasons that the construction, because that did exist in Emmett, as you well know. It was a great program. And the state came out and decided it was too much insurance risk. And many of the school districts got rid of it, unfortunately. And many of them kept it because they were smart.
Yeah, so that was my whole point there, is just try to get us thinking and talking with one another.
Chairman Lloyd, I would also like to share with you why there are differences. And the key to that is our programs change so much. Our teachers have to go to a summer conference every year for a week or so, and they get training on how they're developing new curriculum, new technology. All of those issues are prominent to our teachers staying ahead. Academia has a different summer conference than we do. I mean, they're not even close to being the same. So when you look at technology change, as most of you board members know, our computers change daily. Do our teachers have to keep up with it? Yes, they do. And the only way, and we tried here a while back, 2 years ago, but our teachers go into the academic training that they didn't need. And so here we are wasting time trying to train our teachers twice when they're dedicated, they're required by state law to go to summer conference to be upgraded. So when you look at, can we combine teacher things? Well, we can, but to a certain level. So you can't expect our teachers to take 2 different sets of training, because we already require them to have the training needs of special needs students, and how do we approach each student that learns differently. That's very prominent within the technical division. So I want you to know that, so that's where we had some departures, because there was some direction from the leadership that, by golly, the technical teachers need to go to this conference. Well, they
they're already doing that. So that's where we kind of rubbed heads and why there were some things within the superintendent's level that wasn't working for us.
Mm-hmm.
So you need to understand that's where some of that came from. So we have never thought it's them and us. So you need to know that.
Please, yeah.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
if I might, I'm going to try to change gears. If you don't want me to, you can cut me off if you won't offend me. We have the potential of moving some of our classes to another facility, and we have some issues we'd like to share with you and get your feedback on. May we do that now, or?
Yeah, I think that would be great.
I think it's on the agenda, isn't it?
No, no.
No?
No.
What, let me see what the agenda says.
It has 3 things on it. This would be part of the vision.
Yeah, this would be part of the vision.
Yeah, it's part of the vision.
Yep.
So one of the issues is if we took some of these classes out to a different facility, then free up more classes at them at high school. You know, the modulars we wouldn't be using, but there'd be a transportation issue. And so we need to talk about that a little bit to see if we have a way to work around that.
Mm-hmm. So I don't know, do we need to dig into specifics, or is that something that we should have Craig and Pat work on?
If they want to work on it and come back and give us some suggestions, I think that'd be appropriate. But I think it's important that they have that discussion to keep us appraised.
Mm-hmm. My only concern, I don't want to get into the space of overstepping where we're, you know, controlling the minutia of how things operate together. You know, I don't want it to turn into that. But on a more philosophical level, talking about the potentially moving and having this transportation issue, I think that's well within the realm of what, you know, what we as 2 boards need to discuss together. Is it a cost issue or a transportation availability issue?
I think a lot of it has to do with scheduling issue.
Scheduling.
Mr. Chairman, Pat and I had a discussion with Mr. Carter on yesterday. We kind of started the conversation of what that could look like. And you're right, we can work through some of the details. Some of the concerns that were addressed were everything from if you move programs off of this campus or off the Emmett High School campus, even to free up space, you're losing valuable class time in transporting students and so we started talking about alternatives to that, or actually adjustments to that you know, but we're just in the initial stages of what that could look like. Yes, it becomes an issue of could we support, you know, 120 students being off campus each period, or up to 120 students. If you have, you know, that's how many that are currently in each of the portables now. If they were not on campus, they'd have to be transported. Well, that'd be an additional bus driver and additional routes if they did it that way. So there's a lot of logistics that would have to be figured out if everything moved off campus. But I think, you know, Pat and Mr. Carter and I had a good initial discussion yesterday about some of the pitfalls that we see on our side and some of the enhancements that we could see. You know, Pat brought up some great points on that, how it could enhance everything. So, but I don't think we're ready to really get into the details until we've had a few more meetings probably.
Okay.
I wanted to make sure that both boards knew that there was some discussions going on.
Mm-hmm. No, I think that's great. I appreciate that. So in talking about all the collaboration and some of the work that the teachers are already doing between ESD and PR2TA, by moving off campus and to another site, would we lose any of that that collaboration at the teacher level?
Mr. Chairman, I think that all depends on what the concept truly looks like in the end. It can actually be an enhancement of some collaboration. It may be different different groups that are, I mean, different teachers with different, you know, like it could be a big benefit for our alternative students, you know. So we don't know all those details yet, but it's something that we did discuss and started the conversation.
Okay. Does anybody else have any thoughts or questions?
Hey, Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
Ross Walker. You know, I like words. Vision to me is something you have to be able to see. I think, you know, if there's a partnership and collaboration going on, there needs to be verbiage or something in picture form, posters. I don't know what it would look like, but the students need to understand that there is that connection and that there's support from one side and the other side of the other side. And that needs to be visible to the students on a regular basis, in my opinion, that the focus is on the student and their success, whichever path they choose, and that they've got a team of people on both sides that are willing to help them get there. And I think that needs to be visible if there's going to be a cultural cohesion between both sides. Just a thought.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
and we had something, and it comes from the middle school, but we're all Huskies in this. We're all in a team pulling together. That's what we got to get across to the kids. We are the Huskies.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, ma'am.
yeah, I agree with Bob and with Ross and everybody who's made comments regarding this. I think that the quarterly meetings have been very helpful so that we could all get caught up, and the reports from the PERTA report that are, and vice versa, that are in our board meetings. And I think something where we could come together, more news media, messenger index articles, whatever. I ran into a lady that just has now understood what PERTA is all about. She didn't even know they existed. So the more that we could get out there, both entities working together, I think it'd be very beneficial. That's all I have.
I 100% agree. Craig, what day is, as far as social media, what day is PERTA Day?
Wednesdays.
Wednesday. That's what I thought. Yeah, and I think that's, I to Jody's point, I know exactly what you mean. It always kind of makes me laugh when people complain about the lack of CTE programs and the lack of shop and ag, and we have all that. Kind of cracks me up. So I think the Wednesday posts have gone a long way to help kind of spread the word about the good things that that are happening.
Mr. Chair, Michelle had a question. What is PERTA Day?
Oh, sorry. So every, well, Craig, you can explain it.
Oh, all it is PERTA supplies the district with social media information that we put up on our ESD website or on our Facebook page that every Wednesday, it's their day to actually to be the spotlight of the Emmett School District. And so
Okay.
it's like on Mondays, it's at the elementary. Tuesday, each day of the week is something different, Black Canyon. So they supply it every Wednesday, and we put it up on all of our sites.
Okay, thank you.
I just opened up the chat so I could see it, so.
Chairman White, I want to with you. Many years ago, there was a study done in Twin Falls of the high school there, and only 30% of the students graduating went on to college. What did the other 70% do? So we need to ask ourselves that question. And I don't know what our percentage is here of how many students go on to college here in Emmett, but look at the others that are not being served. But we're trying to do, that's what PERTA is here for. That's why it's so important for our counselors to understand that not all the students are going on and getting a degree. Some of them are going to work, quite a few of them. So that's why we need to work together.
Yeah.
Mr. Chair.
Absolutely. Yes, sir.
To whoever the gentleman was just speaking, I didn't catch that, but one of the things that I would love to see is a I take my brother's class when he graduated high school from Emmett. On the academia side, there's 4 of the kids that graduated with him are now physicians, and there's lawyers and everything else. And that's something that I would love to see our district, and as of PERTA too, is highlighting that what our alumni is out doing and showing that our kids are coming out amazing. We're not just a small town bunch of whatevers. We're putting out some amazing students and that are going on to either academia level or even in the trades, and highlighting some of those amazing things that are happening out there.
Okay.
Anybody else have anything? I'm keeping an eye on the clock. I know we have another board meeting at 5:30. But any more discussion? Any other thoughts?
I think this group's pretty good over here.
Okay. Just a little warning to the PERTA board, we have one item that we need to address. We'll go into their boardroom. We have a forum here almost, and we'll call it Michelle and Bob, and we'll take care of that one item as soon as this is done.
Okay. All right.
Sounds great. Well, I want to thank everybody for your time and for a meeting like this. I think this is really good, and I hope that we can do it and stick to a quarterly cadence. I think that would be really good. I kind of delayed this a little bit just due to the COVID situation, but I think for the most part, Zoom seems to work okay. So hopefully we can get another one on the schedule and plan around it. But I appreciate all the conversation and everything that the PERTA team has been doing. I'm excited about the direction that we're headed.
All right. So, Mr. Chairman, if we're done, we'll end this meeting and then I'll open up the next one in just a minute or two. Is that okay?
Yep, absolutely.
One suggestion, Mr. Chairman, is set the next date for the next joint meeting. So we have it on the calendar.
Yeah, would you guys like to do that right now?
It's normally done right now.
So are we going to do quarterly like Ms. Harris suggested earlier?
That's what it's been in the past, is a
Yeah.
quarterly meeting that we set up back when I was on the board. So taking that into account, our next one would be what, July?
Yeah, July or maybe early August. I know July's a little crazy with budget stuff.
Superintendent?
I live here. I got a camp.
I have not seen the camper, so.
7th of July?
No, that's what day of the week is that?
Tuesday.
I'm sorry, was that the 7th of July?
You know, the week we pushed our well, I'm gonna hope the board changes our board meeting to the 27th, so we could go a little bit later in July. It'd be better.
Okay. Pick a day.
What about Tuesday, August the 4th?
We'll be in. There'll be superintendent meetings at the state. First week in August, we're always in Boise. Pat and
Okay.
It could be the 28th. I mean, if we're just going to do a PERTA meeting, I mean, if that works for them, we want to do a joint meeting that way, or we could have it before our regular board meeting.
Either one.
When are you proposing our regular board meeting is?
I'm going to propose you have it on the 27th.
The 27th.
Monday, the 27th at 6.
So could everybody do Monday the 27th for a joint meeting at 4?
July.
Sorry, yes, July.
I can do that.
I think.
Okay.
That's it.
July 27th at 4 p.m. If at all possible, it will be in the district or the district boardroom. not Zoom. Okay, that work for you?
Craig, since we're having a board meeting, a regular board meeting after that, should we do it in the training room?
We did it last time, just kind of had it all in circles, and then they just left, and we just finished our meeting, so.
Oh, okay.
I was hired on July 25th, so we could have done that as my anniversary date if you want.
I'll bring cupcakes. All right, fantastic. Thank you, everyone. Really appreciate it. We've got 2 minutes before our next meeting, so we'll take a short break and then we'll reconvene at the next one.
Chairman White,
Excuse me.
actually, I think we need to adjourn this meeting and then we'll have another meeting.
Yeah.
Okay, do we need a motion to adjourn?
Yes.
I'll make a motion, we adjourn.
I second.
Who made the
All
first
right.
motion?
Bob Teeter.
Mr. Teeter? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, thank you, everyone. Appreciate it.
I don't know. Angie wrote it down. She's right out here. Just ask her. I wasn't paying attention. I don't pay attention to who does.